The Fifth Wave is an adaptation from the young adult novel. Quite honestly, I never even heard of this movie until I saw the score on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was then that I knew I was probably going to have to review it at some point. And here we are. Now, if you've seen any movies based off young adult novels at all, you'll definitely see some familiar things here. I guess one way to describe the movie would be the host meets the road without all the good parts. From the road, I mean. Aside from the nonsensical plot and moments of pure cheese, another thing that the movie has in common with the host is the amount of wasted talent. I mean, it's clear that they're doing the best they can with the material, for the most part.
Sam! No!
So the movie starts with Cassie running through the woods with an assault rifle. She comes up on a gas station, and it's here that you get the feeling that it's kind of an end-of-the-world situation. She finds this guy in the back room and tells him to drop his gun. So he slowly starts to move his hand out of his coat, but the light reflects off something shiny, so Cassie shoots him. Turns out it wasn't a gun, it was just his necklace. Now Cassie starts talking about how she wishes she could go back to the old Cassie, and the thing is, you never really get the feeling that she's changed radically from what she used to be throughout the movie. So we have the typical setup now, just showing her with her friends in high school, the guy she likes. It's all building up to the point when the aliens show up in a giant spaceship that just kind of sits in the sky. After 10 days, everyone starts calling the aliens the others for whatever reason. Curious as to who coined that and why it stuck. How did that spread? Does everybody calls them the others? Was there a campaign to label them as that? Because I'm pretty sure if I was in this situation, I'd be like, yeah, the aliens. They're aliens. And you think everybody'd be like, wait, what do you mean aliens? I thought CNN told us we're supposed to call them the others. Okay, that's the politically correct term for the aliens. Right? End of the world situation. Don't have to make it any worse. Anyways, things just kind of start going back to normal. I mean, some people start leaving town. I don't know, I guess maybe the giant alien spaceship made some people nervous, but some parents started sending their kids back to school, which, quite honestly, I don't see the point to. I mean, there's a giant UFO in the sky. Aren't teenagers distracted enough with sex and drugs and... I don't even know what they're into now. So this is when the first wave hits, and the first wave is an EMP that the aliens send out, which disables all the vehicles, which I don't think would actually happen. Seriously, I was skeptical, so I went ahead and Googled it. Apparently, the vast majority of cars would be completely fine. That only took me around 5 minutes to find that out. Cassie and her brother are now out collecting water, alone. Seriously, if I was a parent, I'm pretty sure my family would be sticking together at all times by this point. Sure, there's an alien spaceship that's hovering above the city that's disabled all of our communication and transportation. But Cassie, you go out there and collect water for everybody. And take your brother with you. I mean, hopefully there's not another alien attack while you're gone, but what are the chances of that? Well, pretty high it would seem, because the second wave happens. And this is when the aliens manipulate the fault lines, causing earthquakes and all the oceans and lakes to flood the land, destroying every island and coastal city. So now we see Cassie on her bike riding around. I guess her and her brother got out of this situation somehow. Probably just waited it out, I guess. Anyways, in the third wave, the aliens took the avian flu and modified it so that the birds spread it around the world and it's unstoppable. So the city sections off a football field to deal with the infection, where Cassie's mom works, and apparently where her friend has been quarantined. And I mean, hey, just because you've been quarantined doesn't mean you can't look fashionable. But my real question is, this is your quarantine? It's composed of what? This barrier, where anyone can just walk right up to the people inside and have contact with them? Yes, I can't imagine how the virus spread so quickly in this community. 10 out of 10 sanitation. And of course, the mom dies from working in that place. Can't imagine why. Now, one of the questions that gets raised in this movie and never really gets answered is why the aliens are doing this. They just kind of say that they need the planet. Well, why do you need the planet?
I've been very careful so far, not to damage it any more than absolutely necessary.
Damage what?
Earth.
Careful. You call this careful? Again, just go onto Google and punch in environmental effects of a tsunami and just browse through the results on that one. If the aliens are in fact trying to protect the natural resources on the planet, this doesn't seem like the best way to go about it. So the family leaves their house and finds a camp of survivors, and the next day the military shows up.
I thought the cars didn't work.
I like how the character basically says what we're all thinking at this point. Funny part is it never gets explained. At all, at any point throughout the movie. Like I said before, based on what I've found, apparently the EMP wouldn't disable these vehicles, but even still, even if we forget all that, put it all aside, and let the movie set its own rules, then the movie has to play by those same rules. You can't just say all the vehicles were disabled by the EMP blast, and then have the army rolling in with Humvees and buses, and furthermore, never explain how this is possible. And I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it basically implies that the military have something to do with the whole thing, or at least can't be trusted. So the military splits up the kids and the adults, promising to take the kids to the military base first, and then come back for the adults. After Cassie goes to retrieve her brother's teddy bear because he can't travel without it, she misses the bus, and the military gathers all of the adults in a room and kills them all. The military takes the kids one by one and puts them through this process where they inject them with a tracking device and then test them to see if they can kill someone who is hosting an alien. By the way, you can only see the aliens through these special lenses, so kind of like in They Live, except that They Live is a much better movie. So the military starts training all these children to become soldiers, and you'd think at some point maybe one of the kids might ask, hey, whatever happened to our parents? I mean, where are they? You know, our parents? You told us they were going to meet us here, but no, that never happens. Not once. Not at all through the entire movie. After getting shot by a sniper, Cassie wakes up in a house with her wounds bandaged up and an IV hookup. When she hears someone coming, she quickly pretends to be asleep, and when she wakes up in the morning and she hears someone, she does the same thing. And I'm just wondering, what does this do? Pretending to be asleep. I mean, if this person wanted to hurt you, they would have done it already. And they definitely wouldn't have waited until you were awake to do it. I mean, what else would it be? A rapist who only wants to violate conscious, well-hydrated girls? I'm also inclined to think that they wouldn't have treated your wounds if their intention was to cause you harm because, you know, that's kind of contradictory. Now, some of you might be thinking that the person that saved her might be some kind of John Goodman in 10 Cloverfield Lane type character. But no, it's this guy. And of course it is. This is based off a young adult novel, remember? Wow, she really lucked out. This guy is pretty much great at everything. A real survivalist. He not only saved her life, but he treated her wounds, got her on an IV hookup. He also has combat training, chops wood, of course. And, I mean, it's just too bad that he's terribly out of shape and totally not good looking at all. I mean, that's actually probably a good thing. If he was, like, really ripped and young and handsome, you might criticize it for being typical. Okay, so Ben, or Zombie, as everyone calls him, makes a bet with Ringer that if he takes her down, she'll teach them all how to shoot. So she does. And I'm just wondering as to why. They're being trained as soldiers by the military. Why does she have to teach them how to shoot? So they give the kid soldiers these helmets that can help them see which people are infected with the aliens so they know who to shoot at. And yeah, they're being real discreet here. This is great, except for the giant bright lights on their helmets. That doesn't give away their position at all. Now you may be wondering why they need this army of children in the first place, and that's a very good question. I've been trying to figure that out the entire time. It's at this point in the movie that the kids find out that this whole thing was a lie, and that the helmets identify anyone without a tracking chip as an enemy. They are in fact the fifth wave, and the people they're shooting aren't infected by aliens, they're survivors, which means that the army has been taken over by the aliens in case you weren't able to guess that after the first 20 minutes. So it begs the question, why do they need the kid army? You've already infected the commanding officers, so why do you have to go through the process of training new soldiers? Can't you infect the soldiers that you already have? Anyways, Evan admits to Cassie that he is in fact hosting an alien, because we totally never saw that one coming either. Apparently he was gonna kill her when he first spotted her, but for whatever reason, he didn't, because seeing her made him feel human again. Holy shit, tell everyone, we don't need guns to stop the aliens. We just need chicks. Probably should be around an 8 out of 10 or higher though. So Cassie tells Evan to screw off and gets herself captured by the military, where they put her through the same process as all the other kids. But since she knows they're aliens, she waits and knocks out Resnick and steals her uniform. Except I have to ask, if you knew these were the bad guys, would you really let them inject something into your neck first? You don't know what they're really doing to you. All they've done so far is lie and kill your family. So why would you take the chance on letting them inject something into you? So explosions start going off inside the base, and Cassie is just running around trying to find her brother. When she runs into Ben, she takes his gun, but once she realizes who he is, and he tells her he can help find her brother, she gives him his gun back. Are you out of your mind? What was it that convinced you to trust him in the first place? You know that the military has been taken over by the aliens, so what makes you think he hasn't been as well? Because he was your crush in high school? You don't even know him. And everybody else so far has been lying to you. Oh, this guy I trust though. Sure, he's around all the bad guys and the aliens, but I'm gonna go with my gut on this one. Anyways, at some point they get stopped by some other soldiers, but it's okay because Evan comes jumping down from a grate in the ceiling somehow. Do I really have to talk about just how weird this is? I mean, it raises so many questions. How did he get into the base? How did he know where they were? Good thing there was that grate there in that exact spot for him to come crashing down on them.
Who's he?
Competition.
I told you not to follow me.
Well, I decided to ignore you. I've been planting bombs.
Wait, what? How? Is there anything this guy doesn't do? He's like an alien Cub Scout, living out of the forest, advanced survival skills, making explosives. Either that or they just never caught the real Unabomber. So Evan takes off to do, I don't know, something. I would say plant more bombs, but he doesn't appear to be carrying any. They find Sam and escape just in time as the bombs start exploding. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, Evan managed to run around this military base and plant all of these explosives without anybody noticing, I guess. And those must be some pretty powerful explosives. Look, the ground is actually caving in beneath them. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. They get away, eat some eggs and beans, and we're good. Now, they're obviously trying to set this up for a sequel. There's 3 books, which means they're gonna wanna try and make 4 movies. And although it didn't get amazing reviews by any means, the movie did make some money, so you'd think they'd want to go ahead with a sequel regardless. However, it does seem that the movie made more money overseas than it did domestically. The movie feels like it's trying to borrow from other classic sci-fi movies, but you're better off just watching those, especially They Live, because, I mean, just that fight scene alone is just amazing. Quite honestly, if I was rich, I would want to hire Keith David to just narrate a day of my life. Just a regular day, because it would sound so much more interesting coming from him. I would spend my money on odd things. I mean, there's a giant UFO in the sky. Aren't teenagers distracted enough with sex and drugs and I don't even know what they're into now. I mean, if you follow the YouTube comments, apparently I'm into my 50s at this point, so I don't know what's going on with them.